one that's lagging behind, the one who's the weakest, the one who's the sickest, the one who isn't keeping up with the crowd. True statement?
Amen.
Well, the Bible describes it like this in 1 Peter. Be careful. This is not King James translation, by the way. Be careful. Watch out for attacks from the devil, your great enemy, not your friend. He prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for some victim. King James uses the word devour. I don't like it. It's not graphic enough. Looking for somebody he can eat. What does a lion do when he gets a hold of his whatever it is? He goes for the jugular. But before he goes for the jugular, he wants to slow this animal down. So first he'll take a swipe at him usually. He'll get a leg or something, he'll knock them down to slow their momentum. And then he goes for the jugular. And he rips them apart. Mouthful by mouthful. I know it's graphic. I was even going to show you a video of it, but I don't like to look at it, I'll be honest with you. I know it's part of nature and God's plan, I just don't like looking. But he just rips mouthful and mouthful and mouthful out of this animal that he's destroyed. Same thing applies to us. He's not going to automatically go for the jugular for his Christians. He's going to slap us and slow us down a little bit. Oh, it won't hurt if you go to that website one more time. Oh, it's not going to matter if you just take one more drink. It's not going to make any difference if you tell this lie. Well, just one, it's just a little light one, it doesn't matter. Just enough to trip us up so that we're not going forward.
Amen.
And once we've stopped, once we're not going forward, he's gone to the jugular. He doesn't want us to stand. You need to understand that he's our enemy. He doesn't want us to stand. He wants us to fall. He wants us to fail. And he has a strategy to do just that. He has devices. He has plans. What it says, beware the schemes of the devil, the wiles of the devil. A legionnaire might have a sword. The soldier might have a sword here. And he might be good at it, but if he doesn't have the helmet, if he doesn't have his shield, he doesn't have the complete armor on, he's open to the darts that's going to come from the enemy. Therefore, as warriors, we need to have a complete full armor of God. We need to be able to wear it so we can stand against the schemes, the wiles, the devices, the trickery, the deceit, the craft, whatever word you want to use, of the devil. He has a method. He has a method. His goal is to keep those that are lost, lost. Amen. And to keep those, and to get those that are saved, make them lost again. That's his goal. You see, a disabled, fallen saint, if you will, is one less person he's got to worry about. If he can get one of us to quit, he can take his attention away from us and divide and concentrate that attention more on somebody else. So the more he gets to fall, the more he's going to attack somebody else. If we fail to put on that armor, Satan will find our weaknesses, he will look for our holes, and he will set a trap for us, and we will fall in. Now, Paul, in writing to the church at Ephesus, tells the church that the battle that's going to take place and is taking place is in an invisible spiritual realm. The warrior wearing spiritual armor has to know where the battle takes place, because that's where Satan's going to direct his energies and efforts to fighting that. See, the problem sometimes, and this is one reason I really want to bring this out to you today, is we misdirect our energies and our efforts in the physical realm sometimes, or most of the time, not realizing that it's not a spiritual battle, but it's a spiritual battle. Let me give you an example. Maybe as a Christian, maybe we've got this conflict going on with some disgruntled, foul-mouthed neighbor, co-worker, whatever. And it's human nature. We take the attack personally. They're talking to us personally. They're not talking we take it personally. So as a result, we get this animosity and not controlled hate towards that person. We need to start changing our perception. We need to start looking through spiritual eyes rather than physical eyes. And I'll get further than that in a moment. Verse 12, first two verses, for we. Who's he talking to? When he says for we, he's talking to who? He's talking to the church. And he's talking to us. He's talking to Christians. He's talking to the saints. Those who are lost and have been lost don't know that they're lost. If you're not serving God, you don't know that you're lost. You're just part of the enemy's scheme and his camp. So you don't know that you're part of this evil spiritual kingdom. But when we come to Christ, we become part of his army. For we, and this says, wrestle not against flesh and blood. When it talks about wrestling here, it's a term back in those days that means to literally take your victim to the ground. The victor forces the other person to the ground and forces them down and puts their hands around their neck. That's the term wrestling here. We're in this spiritual struggle against Satan. His goal is to force us to the ground, trying to get control over our lives, taking any authority that we may have away from us. Now, there is an invisible world around us that's just as real as the visible world is. We have a tendency to accept only the things that we can see and hear and smell and taste. Those physical things. This book is real. Amen. This carpet is real. These pews are real. You people are real. It's things we can see and hear and feel and touch. But when we begin to talk about that which is invisible, those things that can't see or hear, be touched and smelled and so forth, we tend to think that those things aren't real because we can't find them with our senses. So therefore, we place them at some lower level of reality than the physical things that we can sense with our senses. The unseen world is presented and described as a place where evil exists, but you need to understand there's also a place where God exists. The unseen world is where all that is of a spiritual nature takes place, both good and evil. And it's in this invisible world that this spiritual warfare goes on. We fight against principalities and powers, it says, that seek to do us harm. People can be bad. We know that. People can be bad. And as bad as they can be, we need to understand that they're only agents in this physical life for things that are going on in the spiritual world. They're just the ones being used by the enemy. The roots come from something much bigger and larger here. Now that, don't get me wrong, that doesn't excuse the wrong that these people do. They're still going to have to be, hold themselves accountable, be held accountable, if you will, for their actions. They're still responsible there. But our enemy is challenging. And his goal, as I said, is to destroy us and to discredit us for the cause of Christ. As an example, we go to work and we say something on behalf of Christ. And this is particularly true of a new convert. Oh, God's come into my life. He made a difference in my life. And all of a sudden, we all remember how it was when we got on fire for God as soon as he saved us, and somehow the fire kind of died down. But as a new convert, you're on fire for God, and look what God has done to me. You tell them what's happening in church, and so forth and so on. They're fine. They're fine. And then all of a sudden, something happens. Yeah. They're fine. They're fine. As I said before, we slip up, we make a mistake. In whatever, it doesn't matter. I could stand there all day and name things that we could slip up in, but everybody's got their own area of things they slip up in. But when we do that right out to those people, right after we've just talked about how God's good to us and been good to us and so forth, they say, what much of that was it? That didn't last very long. See, it destroys and it discredits us. But more importantly, it discredits what the cause of Christ is. Now, while we don't want to give him more power and credit than he really has, we would make a very big mistake if we think that his demonic power has no, his demonic spirit has no power at all. Because he does. Satan is a present reality in our lives whether we like it or not. And he wants nothing more than to destroy our faith, take away our credibility, cause us to sin, or not come to Christ at all. That's what he wants to do. We need to be prepared for battle, and we need to be aware of his abilities. Why? So that we may be able to stand. See, we're surrounded by our spiritual enemy. But the battle is not for anything physical. This battle is for glory. At issue is who's going to receive the glory of the universe. Who is going to be worshipped. That's what's at stake. That's what's at stake. His strategy is very simple. He is out to deceive us, to trick us, and to bind his lies and his temptations. He's been doing it for years. He's been good at it for years, and he hasn't got any worse at it in years. The battle is for glory. It's for the throne of creation. And even though the outcome has never been in doubt, we read the last book, we know the outcome, and even though that outcome's never been in doubt for years, the battle still goes on in our hearts and in our lives and in our families' lives and in our church's lives. You see, the Bible tells me who's going to win the war. We win. But along the way, there's going to be some battles. And Satan's job, you got to understand, Satan knows who wins the war. He knows who's going to win the war. His job is to defeat as many of us as he can in the battles along the way to the final end. That's what he wants to do. It's time we realize that even though we were born in this sinful world, we don't have to allow evil forces and sin to reign in our lives and to ultimately destroy us. We do not have to. Wrestling against principalities. You see, if we don't understand that concept, if we don't understand that we're fighting this spiritual war, we're going to waste all sorts of time and energies in our fight because we're trying to fight something physical. We're trying to fight our neighbor, we're trying to fight this person, we're trying to fight this person, and we're just wasting time and effort and energy when we're doing that. Paul here he calls them principalities, powers, rulers, and hosts. Satan is a very real enemy at war with every saint. Every saint. No one is exempt. His goal is to remove our authority and to conquer us by, as I told you before, putting his hand around our neck and throwing us down and defeating us, keeping us from getting there. Satan doesn't only deceive through false religions and counterfeit Christianity, he also wins and does things denying the very existence of Christ. He'll say there is no God. How many people you run with? Oh, there's no God. Well, he'll try it. If that doesn't work, he'll use another tactic. Materialism. Oh, let me work harder so I can get. Now, don't get it wrong. It's not wrong to work and get. But let me just add this in. This part's free. That cost any extra this morning. It doesn't matter how much